Bonjour à tous, Grenoble Indian Film Festival est ravi de vous avoir pour encore une session avec un réalisateur indien. Aujourd'hui, nous avons avec nous ABHIROOP Basu qui est avec nous de Kolkata. C'est un réalisateur extrêmement intéressant. Nous nous connaissons avec ABHIROOP qui a fait un film, un court-métrage au Short Film Corner il y a quelques années. Nous nous sommes rencontrés et nous avons décidé avec Indian Cinema Events de créer un projet qui s'appelait Get Me to Cannes. Nous avons donc financé sa venue à Cannes alors qu'il partait à l'école de Prague pour faire ses études en cinéma, chose qu'il a fait. Et nous l'avons quand même invité à Cannes pour le festival et où il a découvert justement le monde du cinéma avec la possibilité de réseauter, de faire connaissance avec des producteurs, des réalisateurs et de créer un peu son réseau. Ça, c'était il y a quelques années. Je suis ravie de le retrouver cette année. C'est quelqu'un qui a fait son parcours, qui est allé à l'école de Prague, qui a fait un court-métrage où il a eu des comédiens tels que Pankaj Tripathi, qui est vraiment un nom très, très respecté dans le milieu du cinéma, qui a aussi travaillé avec Adil Hussain dans un autre de ses courts-métrages. Nous avons une chance immense d'avoir un de ses courts-métrages au festival, le Grenoble Indian Film Festival, et donc nous allons lui poser des questions par rapport à ses films et son parcours qui est fort intéressant quand même. I'm switching to English. So welcome ABHIROOP. It's really nice to see you and to have your film. And we've had you in the Indian Cinema Events family. Now you belong to the Grenoble Indian Film Festival family and you're welcome forever to be able to come present your projects. I was just saying that you're someone we've followed, whose work we have really appreciated. We knew you had talent, and with Cannes, with the Short Film Corner, with these wonderful memories that we have, obviously, also with the discussion panel and you meeting Anurag Kashyap and a lot of interesting filmmakers who obviously inspired you. Your visit then to go on to learning filmmaking with Prague Film School, and then us discovering the results these couple of years later with one film that you've made with Adil Hussain, and then another film that you have with Pankaj Tripathi. These are not just any actors. These are well-known, established, respected actors who are really appreciated in Indian cinema. So the disappearance of ABHIROOP to coming to now, where you're shooting again, you're going to explain to us in a couple of weeks, months. So what has been happening? How have you been?
Okay, so very glad, excited to be part of the Grenoble Film Festival, and Sonia has been one of the very key figures. Let me tell you that share that with the audience, because she has been one of the key figures in me introducing to the world of cinema. So she has opened up my world after Cannes, and I was glad that I could go to Prague, and because I was always wanted to get into the European film system, because that was always my roots: European cinema, European art house. And I spent 2 years there, and I came back, made meal, and it's one of those things where after Prague and especially after Cannes, I had to, uh, you know, I'll tell you something honestly. When I was at Cannes, I knew I didn't belong there, and immediately a thought also came across that I want to belong here sometime. And from that to this journey, which is a journey which is of course continuing as we go, as we speak. I've tried to learn things that, the language that we're all trying to, the voice that I've been trying to, kind of, grab, knowing myself as an artist, and recognizing a lot of other things in life. So all those things have come together in the last 2 3 years, and Prague was a very key point, high point in my career. And after working in Meal and LAALI with this, I mean, Adil Hussain and Pankaj Tripathi, that really has opened my world, opened my eyes into a lot of things which I wanted to be a part of. Since that dream of, I think, after Cannes, when Neil also went to this Oscar qualifying festival at Odense International Film Festival, Denmark, where it was somewhat like a dream come true when I met Thomas Winterberg. So these are all the very interesting moments which happened, because Thomas Winterberg has been a film guru for me, since the reason why I picked up Dogma 95 movement, the reason why I picked up cinema. So all these things coming together in the last 2 3 years have been very very conclusive in the way that I have kind of I'm still trying to find my voice, but these are all the main events which has come together, and right now I'm on the journey of finding my voice. So through this film, so I'm very grateful, very grateful. Yeah.
So your stories, I'm also discovering your stories and where you've been in going after your first film that came with to the short film corner, and then
Right.
a filmmaker is so diverse with so many different palettes and so many nuances to what their life is and what inspires them, which actually becomes their films also, and inspires their films. And so the different journeys that I've also discovered with your films. How did you approach, because Meal and LAALI are two very different films. We at Ghana Indian Film Festival are taking Meal. And so how did that come about? And then there's Adil Hussain. So these are not just, like I said, any actors. How did you go about the whole thing of the story as well as approaching Adil?
Right, right. So I think one of the greatest things, takeaways that I had from Prague from school was my professor told me that uh, with every film and as an artist, you should always try to offer yourself in a place, and that somehow stuck with me in a very deep way. And since then, because before that I was a mess all over the place. I've seen this film, that film, this film, all those films, and I didn't know what my voice was, and what are the kind of stories I wanted to say. And after that Prague moment and my very discussions with my professor and long conversations about what the voice should be and what the kind of films that I should make, I think this somehow stuck that I should offer myself in a space, in a play. That is what every artist ever has always tried to do. And Meal comes from that very personal experience, an environment that I have seen from grow as we have grown up in a very middle class Calcutta surrounding, suburban Calcutta surrounding, and I've seen all those characters. I've seen those nuances, and the kid that you see in Meal is is loosely based on a friend I used to play cricket when I was a child, who used to just live, who was a neighbor, and we used to play cricket. And the story of Mill somehow resembles his life in a way, because something I saw as a neighbor which always happened in his house and never understood why. And I it was always for me a searching for something, searching for the kind of experience, the truth in a way. And Meal occurred from that searching, that I wanted to offer myself in a plate and also tell something which I have lived myself, the kind of experiences I knew. And as you know, I've always European films have always been a very founding stone in my kind of waking up to cinema. So I tried to tell a story which is very local, in a language which was very universal. So that is how Meal happened. And I wrote the screenplay, and this was the first very technical screenplay that I wrote, and I sent it to Adil Hussain, and he agreed on a very first. He read and he agreed, and he said it's very interesting. He said, some films Abhiroop I do to pay the bills, and some films I do so that I can sleep at night. Your films are falls on the later part. So that's how he kind of joined Meal, and now we're also collaborating on some other films. So very very interesting, very grateful again.
So that's a feather in your cap, because let's be honest, people are so busy in this Indian film industry, and it
Right.
is a challenge to even get to people, get to actors, interest people,
Absolutely.
interest production houses. I've always felt, I always knew that you would, make your mark and you'd find your calling and be able to manage with filmmaking, but as you're seeing now that you're a filmmaker, that every new film is a new struggle and it's a new
Correct.
challenge.
Correct.
And nobody can lie comfortably saying, oh well, I'm so and so, and I've made my mark, and people know me, and so things are just going. Because the biggest of most famous of filmmakers and people in the profession are still having that moment of doubt going into a new film and a new project.
Correct.
And do you still feel that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because as I told you, something which always keeps bugging me, that I'm searching for something. I don't know exactly what. And I am not a politician that I can say something in a stage. I am not a great painter that I can paint something. So this is the only thing that I've kind of found out that I can do. And so my search, so there are a number of questions that I have, and those are questions which kind of keep me up at night. And I try to answer those questions by making films. So for me, it's a search, and every film is one more answer, or rather like a way that I've kind of discovered through that search. So for me, that is a journey that I'm trying to take. And with Mila and Lali, that was because those are very contrasting films.
Right.
And with Lali, I really saw a lot of myself in that character, which Pankaj sir played, and a lot of personal experiences came into Lali to be. I mean, now that you see Lali, it's a lot of me. So I try to make films where there is a very very clear reflection of myself first, and then of course if there's truth there in the search, then also that experience, that personal experience becomes universal. That takes years to kind of have that performance, or rather have that journey, that arc from personal to universal. So I am on that journey, and these two films are also one very interesting film that I'm making next month. So I'm just trying to search for those answers.
So coming back to Lali, why do you say that this is you? In what way did you mean that?
Well, in the sense that in today's world, we have 4,000, 5,000 friends on Facebook, 10K followers on Instagram, but I think we have become very very lonesome. I actually feel that I'm very very lonesome in my own space, and I have always been very introvert in that sense, and I still struggle to make an effort to talk to people, because it's the same story. So ultimately, what do we ultimately try to do? We try to tell someone by bugging them, poking them every now and then. See, this is me. See, this is me. So I think somewhere down the line, I feel that everyone in this day and age where everything's so well communicated in terms of communication, everything's so easier, but it has somehow distanced people more. And I feel that this loneliness is something that I've embraced. First of all, it came to me as rather something that I was really I mean, I struggled through that, and now I've embraced it. And the point where I embraced it and accepted it, from that point came the story of Lad. Because I was in Calcutta when I was waiting for someone, and it was a film studio, and outside that I was waiting for someone, and there was this small shanty of a dukan shop where one person was pressing clothes, and a huge wedding procession in the evening was passing. And usually wedding processions are where people are dancing, twisting, heavy music, Bollywood music, all of that was happening in front of me. And everyone from different flats, their windows was peeking out and looking at it. But this man, I was on the other end of the road. I saw this man who was pressing and never for once looked up. And somehow I got connected to him, and I saw a reflection of myself. And I went back to that place for 3 months. I observed him from far, and somehow it was an unsafe kind of a relationship that we had, and that was the birth of Lali. To be honest, that's how Lali was made. Yeah,
So that's interesting. So and plus with that loneliness, there's also silence. I mean, this is not a film we're taking, but I hope to take it maybe next year. But
right,
the creation of that, obviously you've gone down and really limited yourself in terms of words,
yeah,
which is beautiful because you're, I mean, Pankaj Tripathi just is going to be speaking. He's such an
right,
expressive person.
right.
And that's the whole thing that's beautiful to discover at the same time. Huh? because this is all of us. When we're brushing our teeth, we're lonely, and when we're having our bath, and these moments where we're just so, it's facing ourselves and being with ourselves and
Absolutely.
befriending ourselves. But at the same time, what you said was interesting, because if you don't have this, if you can't face being alone, how do you think, how do you reflect, and how do you write, and how do you create that film in
Correct.
your mind, right? If you had
Correct.
noise all around you, and which will happen with 2 3 kids and a family, and all the things that happen to us, usually speaking, and me speaking from experience from the other side of the busy life, is to
Right.
be able
Right. Right.
to find that space where you need to, like writers,
Right.
uh, disappear into the wilderness to go write your film and vision your film. So that is a good friend that you have, getting to the lonely part of you, which is the
Right.
most beautiful and creative part. And there is creation in that pain of being lonely, is where you're finding your creation, and that's feeding the creation that you're bringing out and giving us. Without that suffering and pain, there would not be the birth of that
Right.
creation, which is
Right.
which is so
Absolutely.
interesting, because you're going to go and obviously look into these very sad and specific moments that you're bringing out onto film later, from your life and other lives.
Right.
Tell me a little bit more about Meal. What what was the essential thing, like you said, influenced by Indian society, our lives, etc.? What was the important thing with Meal, and why Adil Hussain, knowing that there's Hotel Salvation, that's a film that we had at our festival, knowing,
Right.
these are roles that Adil's had, um, um, even if they're very different roles, I mean, that Adil explores and plays around with. So the need for having Adil for this role in particular.
See, Sonia, I follow a process where I have someone in my mind as I write my own films. So I always try to have someone in mind when I'm writing the films. So it just so happened that I was lucky back to back, and also in the third time that I'm making this other film, where the actors that I've thought of have agreed to do these films.
Mm, mm,
So that was a very straightforward thing. And secondly, I think Meal came from a place of discomfort, and I was feeling so. As I told you, like I make films according to the kind of mindscape that I'm going through at that point. What I'm feeling at that point, I write, and that hopefully someone resonates with, and then they put their money, and we make a film. So Meal happened from the space where in that time in India, even now, for a matter of fact, things were very chaotic, politically, and of course, if politically chaotic, of course, reflects on every life. And there was the prices were up at a high. People were dying because for the choice of meat. People were being lynched. Certain sections of the society were being murdered, and we were just keeping on living our lives. So as if nothing ever mattered. And I remembered when we were like young, and news of a rape is to when a news of a rape is to come in a newspaper, we used to really get affected. And now, when we open Facebook and we see all these news feeds about people dying, there in Afghanistan yesterday, 50 odd people died in a mosque in Afghanistan, and all this news of chaos and death and everything, human lives. So I was really, I wrote Meal as a reflect action, as a knee jerk action, that I wanted to say something. And of course, I'm not a great, as I said, I'm not a speaker, so I can't see that in the way that people should say when they speak. So I wrote Meal, and that is my way of saying that. That's my politics. And technically, it's the first film to have the CA NRC riots, because I wrote that at the background of that, and that is the only film out there, as a matter of fact, which has the record of the CA NRC riots in the Indian landscape. So for me, that was very important to have that film out there, and also in some way, uh, make a point, because I think as we are going ahead, and as the regimes are changing, and one king is replacing the other, they are changing history every day, and our history is being changed and manipulated. So it's very important for me as a filmmaker to have this time testament, so that 20 years later, if my children ask me what happened in 2019 or 18, what are the CA and CY, what happened then I have a film to show. See, this is what happened, and very unapologetic, raw approach to that. So that was my thought process behind me, to be honest.
It's interesting that, because yes, at that particular moment, obviously, last year there was this big moment, and um, two particular moments marked us. Obviously, yes, the political situation has
Right.
has been quite unstable, but then obviously COVID hasn't helped very much. But we're in a situation where we're thinking, well, we need to desperately get out of COVID before we go back into uh, uh, you know the political situation that there is, which is also unstable now. So it's quite a combination. For a young filmmaker, getting into your second, third, fourth film, and then raising these questions, which are then political with this background, are you taking that challenge of saying, well, I don't care, I'm making my film and I don't care in terms of production, finding a producer and being able to produce, to be able to say what you have to say and keep your vision, and so that's how important it was for you?
Absolutely. I'll tell you, even after Meel and Lali, because these two films kind of put me in a place where then I could pitch other things to different people in, let's say, the people in the Bombay industry. Because my language of I'm not making films in Bengali. I'm making films in Hindi, in the language that the country understands and the country accepts as the most spoken language. So I'm catering to a mass, let's say. So even after Mila and Lali, I struggled for, and COVID didn't help either, because the kind of stories that I wanted to make, there weren't producers after a COVID debacle to put money in those films, and I struggled. I'll tell you, I struggled for a year, and I've sent this the other film that I'm doing right now in next month. It's called Gudgudi. It's based on an incident from the Gujarat riots of 2002, and next year, 2022, marked the 20 years of the riots.
Hmm.
So I wanted to do, because in the Indian cinema landscape there are a handful of fiction films, two three of them, which has a very unapologetic account of the riots which happened, and it triggered me last year when the Delhi riots happened in February. So and for me it was very difficult to accept that in 2020 we are having riots in India, Hindu Muslim riots. So that kind of blew my mind, and I wanted to make a film. I wanted to come up with a story which, as I said, sets a time testament for years to come. So I've struggled for a year, even after making a film with, say, Pankaj sir and Adil sir. I've struggled for more than a year to get this film funded, and finally I mailed everyone, all the festivals that Meel has been accepted to, and Meel has got awards. I mailed the jurors. You have given me awards. You must have seen something. I was desperate. You must have seen something to give me money to make this other film that I want to make. So that's how I gathered money from the West. And right now, it's a Indo-US co-production that we have. And now we are finally being able to make this film, Gudgudi, which I think it will be arguably the first unapologetic raw account of the riots of 2002. But the interesting part is it's hard to say whether it's 2002 or 2010 or
Hmm.
2030, for example. So,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
that these are the kind of films that I'm trying to do, apart from, of course, the commercial stuff, because I'm also doing this Hotstar, Disney Hotstar series with Bijoy and Ambiar. And I'm also trying to make some films which caters to a bigger mass. But these are the films, as Adil said, which helps you sleep at night. So I'm also trying to get these stories out there. So yeah.
So that's really interesting. This so you got producers for this film that you're doing on the riots then?
Right, 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 right. Mostly
Okay.
from the West. mostly from the West.
Right. Great. Wonderful. So this goes on the floor. When does that start then? Now?
We are
Next
shooting
month?
on. We are in very heavy pre-prod right now. We are doing the pre-production, so we are shooting the second week of November, and Rajshri Deshpande is playing a very key part in the film. So she's part of the film, and I'm
Excellent.
very happy to have her. So yeah,
Excellent.
I've been after her
Excellent.
for 2 months, and finally we got her, and she's doing the film.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Just watched her because she's in one of the films that we have. Sangram Soni's film. I don't know
Okay.
if you so wonderful. She plays a pregnant mom living, I can't say very much right now because we've taken the film.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But she is so wonderful, and obviously Manto and Angry Indian Goddesses, Nalin's film. She's
Sexy
absolutely
Durga,
fabulous.
Sanal Kumar Sasidaran's film, Sexy Durga. That's where I first saw
Yes,
her, and I
yes,
wanted to work with her. So yeah.
yes. No, wonderful, just wonderful, wonderful actress, and so you're right in the middle of doing all this, and so this is going to be shot for what? How many weeks? How many months? The
So
shoot?
so so technically, I mean, Neil was shot in 2 days, Lali was 3 days, and this one also 3 days. We're shooting
Okay.
3 days, but I usually shoot the film before I shoot the film. So I usually have one and a half months of solid pre-prod. Then we
Right.
shoot the film, and then I spend a lot of time on sound, because I think you've noticed how sound
Yeah.
plays such an important
Hmm.
part both in Lali and Neil, and here
Hmm.
also.
Hmm.
So sound and sound design is the part where I spend a lot of time. So hopefully I'll be able to show you the film in a couple of months' time, maybe before December, because we're trying to then take it to the the big festivals out there and see how they are reacting to the film. So that's the plan.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to that. What are you thinking in terms of getting to a feature? Because this is a short film. Again, this is going to be a short film, huh?
Right,
Okay.
right, right, right.
So obviously I can feel there that you're somebody who needs to craft their art and make very solid foundations before you get to the next step. There's people who don't wait that much and think that much and explore that much. The other reason perhaps is also because your palette is so large. You've got people, filmmakers, who when you put their short films one after the other, this is absolutely not negative what I'm saying, but there is so much similarity in their work, whereas with your work it is like you said, I'm in all different directions, but I think that's great to be in all different directions because you get a little touch of and then when you've been to India and lived in different places and seen different things, you are a mix of the patchwork that you've lived, and so that
Absolutely.
is who you are. And it's great to be in a ready of a mix of different things. Obviously, like you said, you then need to find your signature of maybe, you know but there's no rule for that either. It can
Right.
be so varied, and in one filmmaker there can be so many different things that people come to explore. So this is interesting. You writing something already in terms of a feature or not?
Yeah. So there are. I mean, see, as I told you, like there are a number of films in very different genres. So I'm trying to explore myself in the full capacity. I love to watch Tarkovsky. I want to, and at the same time, I love to watch No Time to Die, a James Bond film. So
Right.
so I have stories which cater certain audiences, and I have stories which cater bigger audiences in that way.
Mm, mm,
So right now I'm in the because I'm in the space where I have there's a feature that a couple of features that I have written over the past 2 years, and I'm in this process of pitching them. And one film feature is born out of Meal, because if you remember Meal happens in one household, like one flat in a way. And my feature is about the household just next to me, the flat next to me, and all the characters of Meal in a way come back as well. So that is a feature I'm just right now pitching here. And as you know, it's difficult for this kind of films to be pitched and made, in the sense, because I mean the Indian films, rather the Indian industry, Bollywood industry, let's say, but caters to the more commercial stuff. So I'm also trying to cater to that as well. So right now I'm in the mix where I am, trying to pitch uh, a number of stories to a few places which cater to those. So I'm trying to cater accordingly. At the same time, these are the kind of films, say for a Gudgudi, Meal and Lali, I am just making for myself, and the reason so that I can sleep at night. At the same time, it's just for posterity in some way or the other, so that this can be reference points in the future. So I'm also making these kind of films, and I have a few more in this lineup. I don't see films as short films or features. It's just some stories need 12 minutes to say them, some 30, and some 2 hours, and some even now 5 6 hours when it's a show. So as I told you, I'm also doing a show with Bijoy and Ambia where I'll be directing 2 episodes. So I'm also doing that. So I'm very open in that way. I'm not like I'm only doing this kind of stuff, but I'm trying to discover myself. As I told you, I'm searching. I'm
But
searching.
it's
So the
wonderful.
search
I think
goes
it's
on.
great because what I'm saying in terms of a feature and why I'm expecting that and waiting for that eagerly is because filmmakers like you make us hungry. Then we're left for wanting more. Dil mange more, like
That's
what's his
it.
name?
Yeah.
Siddharth Malhotra said the other day in an interview that I was doing for Share
Right.
Shah.
Right. Right. Right.
So
Shesta.
so so so
Yeah.
we're in the thing of there's some filmmakers you want more of their stories. You
Right.
know that this you don't want this to finish, and I think that's something that you have. I do
Thank you
not
so much.
distribute this to any and everyone. I've maybe said it to you before as well. The fact that you just like a chameleon with capable of getting into so many different things and adapting and have an eye for so many varied things, it's very enriching, and that's the wonderful thing that you have with your profile, that you're capable of coming up with such different things and also catering to different things. The other thing is that in our industry people don't very easily admit it, and I feel that what's wonderful about you is that you easily admit that it's okay. Well, I'd be very happy doing a Bollywood. I'd be very happy working with a TV show, and I'm wonderfully happy doing hyper arty stuff, and all in the same person, which is me. And I think that the fact that you acknowledge it and say it out very humbly and easily, is to your advantage. And I think it's a great thing to be able to be comfortable with that, because a lot of people are going to be doing arty stuff, and then one day something a little more mainstream comes up, and then they get a little uncomfortable as to with journalists as
Right.
to how am I going to pitch this and put this and justify this, because
Right.
I don't want to be taken for. And with you there isn't that. I like the fact that you're comfortable with a bit of everything, and if the person is strong and comfortable, people are strong and comfortable watching it.
Right.
You know, um,
Absolutely. And I think stories. I think there are different kinds of stories, and there are stories for everyone. And especially living in a country like a diverse country like India, that has been my experience that you cannot cater one story and expect a million lives to be affected. Not that I'm trying to affect million lives, but the diversity of India brings you to the context where you should be open up to the diversity. So some stories would be catering a certain kind of mass. Some stories would be catering a different kinds of mass, and it's not really anything to be shameful about, because as long as I get to make the kind of films I want to make, I'm happy.
right.
And of course, it's a struggle because I'm still trying to land my first feature, and in the meantime, these are the kind of films which also kind of take me to the takes me ahead of the queue. That you always go with a to a producer saying these are the kind of films I've made, and see now I want to make this. So these always help you build a strong case for yourself when you are not making the so-called the public, the commercially accepted films. So that's what is helping me in this journey. Yeah.
Oh, really interesting. And then obviously with Rajshri, And these actors, the superlative actors that you're getting, you're also getting to experiment your craft with actors, which is, I mean, it's that part of things. Writing the story, directing is one thing, but there's so many different actions and duties and things to master in directing a film, and it's no small deal to be having a whole team, but then also be having actors who are bringing out and who could be showing that emotion and be the vision of what you've dreamt of in your head. So it's so hard, huh? And it's obviously, and then you experiment all that and see, well, oh, this, you know, this is nice with, this was good with this actor, and no one else could have brought this out better than her or him, which is interesting. So I'm glad that you're staying hungry. I'm glad that you're trying things out, and it is so important, so essential. We just want to say, well, you know, we're here now. This is your new house, Grenoble Indian Film Festival in the French Alps. Our festival's there forever, for you, hopefully forever. And just feel comfortable one day, hope to have you here in person. But if you can't come, I know that you're busy, you're shooting, and that means you're active. And I love the fact that you're active and you're busy. So that's all, that is wonderful. It's really great. So, well, thanks immensely for being with us for the festival, giving us your film. I'm extremely grateful to you, and we look forward to having you with us one day very soon. Thanks very much, ABHIROOP.
Thank you so much. I'm humbled, and it's also great to be able to do this with you finally, because, you know, as I told you, you've kickstarted my career, and I'll always be grateful for that. And at the same time, as I told you, I'm always on the search of people outside of India to back the kind of stories that I'm wanting to make. So this opens up a world of possibilities. So I'm very much up for that. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. A French word, which is à bientôt, which means see you soon. À bientôt.
À bientôt.
Bye, ABHIROOP. Thanks.
Bye.
लुक छुप ना जाओ जी, मन दीद कराओ जी, रा क्यों तरसावे हो, मन सकल दिखाओ जी। थारी शरारत सब जानू मैं चौधरी, अरसले उन बंगा दी मैं कह लगे, मर बिगड़ में जागी दो कणी चंदा में थारी।